Most people think destiny is decided by big decisions, but it's usually shaped by a $4 coffee, a $20 subscription, and a $300 car payment they barely noticed. Hi, my name is Jack, and today I want to talk about how tiny choices quietly shape financial destiny over a lifetime in ways most people never see until it's too late. We're not going to talk about tricks or hacks, just a slow walk through ordinary life and how money quietly compounds in both directions. Imagine a normal weekday morning. The alarm goes off, you roll out of bed, half awake, checking your phone. There's a notification from your bank. Your paycheck hit overnight. For a few seconds, you feel rich. Then you open your banking app. Rent is scheduled for tomorrow. Car payment in 3 days. Credit card minimum next week. Phone bill, internet, streaming services, gym membership, cloud storage, music app. The paycheck hasn't even warmed up in your account, but it already has a job. It's already gone. None of this feels dramatic. It feels normal, almost boring. And that's how compounding starts. At the grocery store later that day, you walk through the aisles, you pick up the usual items: milk, eggs, bread, snacks. You add a frozen pizza because you're tired and cooking feels like work. At the checkout, the total flashes on the screen. It's higher than last week. You stare at it for a second, then swipe your card. You don't think about how that extra $10 every week, every year quietly compounds into thousands. It just feels like groceries got more expensive. On the drive home, you stop for coffee, $4 and change. You tell yourself it's small. You deserve it. You worked hard, and you're right. It is small, but it's also daily, and daily things have a strange way of multiplying over decades. That night, you scroll through social media. Someone posted a new car, someone else is on vacation, a third person just bought a house. You feel a tiny pressure, not jealousy, just a quiet voice saying, you should be doing better. So you open a car website. You look at monthly payments instead of total price. The number seems manageable, just a few $100s more than your current car. You imagine how it will feel to drive it out, how it will look in photos. You don't imagine how it will feel 5 years later, still paying for it when it's no longer new. A week later, you get the car. The payment is set on auto pay. You forget about it until one day your bank balance feels thinner than usual. A month later, your credit card statement arrives. You scroll through the charges: groceries, coffee, gas, streaming, online shopping at midnight, food delivery when you were too tired to cook. Nothing huge, but the total feels heavier than you expected. You see the minimum payment, it looks small. You choose it, it feels harmless. Interest quietly starts stacking in the background. No alarms, no warnings, just numbers growing in silence. A year passes, your rent goes up, your insurance premium increases, your electricity bill jumps, your internet provider sends a polite email about a price adjustment. You shrug. Everything costs more now. Your salary increased a little too, but it never feels like enough. You try saving. You transfer $50 into a savings account. It feels good for about 2 days, then a subscription renews, then the car needs maintenance, then a medical bill appears. The savings disappears. You don't feel irresponsible. You feel unlucky, like money just leaks out of your hands. But something subtle is happening. Tiny decisions are stacking, not just financially, psychologically. You start believing that money never stays, so you stop expecting it to. Years later, you open a retirement account for the first time. You see a small balance. You feel a mix of guilt and confusion. You've worked for years. Where did it all go? You think back, there was no single moment where everything collapsed, no dramatic failure, just small, ordinary days: another grocery trip, another coffee, another subscription, another minimum payment, another "I deserve this" purchase, another price increase email you barely read. This is compounding, not just interest. Habits compounding, beliefs compounding, patterns compounding. And here's the uncomfortable part: the same compounding works the other way. Somewhere else, another person wakes up to their paycheck. They feel the same relief. They have rent, car payments, groceries too. They also buy coffee sometimes. They also feel tired and order food delivery. But once in a while, they leave $10 in their account instead of spending it. Once in a while, they don't upgrade the car. Once in a while, they pay a little more than the minimum. Nothing heroic, nothing Instagram worthy. Just tiny, boring, almost invisible choices. $10 becomes 100. 100 becomes 1,000. 1,000 quietly starts earning something, not fast, not exciting, but steady. Years pass, their account looks different, not because they were smarter, not because they were richer, but because their tiny choices compounded in the opposite direction. Back to you. You're sitting at your kitchen table one night, bills spread out, you feel tired, not broke, but not comfortable. Just stuck in the middle. You think about destiny, you think about rich people and poor people, you think about luck, but destiny rarely shows up as a lottery ticket or $1 million mistake. It shows up as auto pay, it shows up as subscriptions, it shows up as coffee receipts and grocery totals and minimum payments. It shows up quietly, daily, unnoticed, and it keeps building day after day, year after year, until one day you look back and realize your life was shaped by things that never felt important at the time. That's the strange thing about compounding. It doesn't feel powerful while it's happening. It feels boring. It feels small. It feels insignificant until it isn't. And that's how tiny choices shape financial destiny. The strange part is that compounding doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock on your door and say, this decision will matter for the next 30 years. That just sits quietly in the background, stacking one ordinary day on top of another. A few months later, you get a notification from your credit card. Your statement is ready. You open it while sitting on the couch, half watching a show you're not really watching. You scroll past the charges, some you remember, some you don't. There's a late night online order you barely recall, a subscription you forgot you signed up for during a free trial, a food delivery order that cost twice as much as cooking but felt necessary at the time. The interest line is there too. It's not dramatic, just a number, but it's a number that represents time working against you. You think about paying more than the minimum. You really do. But the car payment is due tomorrow. Rent is next week. Groceries again this weekend, so you tap the minimum. It feels like a small, practical decision. And that decision compounds. At work, you hear someone talking about investing. They mention their 401k. They mention the company match. You nod, pretending you understand. You tell yourself you'll look into it later. Later turns into months. Months turn into years. The match quietly expires, unused. Free money you never claimed because it felt complicated, and complicated felt exhausting after a long day. One afternoon, you check your bank account at an ATM. You're waiting in line behind someone withdrawing cash. You insert your card, type your PIN, and see the balance. It's lower than you thought. Sorry, you stand there for a second staring at the screen. It's not zero. It's not a disaster. It's just thinner than it should be. You walk away feeling a quiet heaviness, not panic. Just a sense that money always seems to slip through your fingers. That feeling compounds too. You start to think, I'm just bad with money. So when money leaves, you expect it. When money stays, you're surprised. When money grows, you assume it's temporary. Years pass, you get a raise. Not huge, but noticeable. You celebrate with a nicer apartment, a better car, more streaming services, more convenience. You don't feel reckless. You feel like you're finally catching up to the life you're supposed to have. Your lifestyle inflates quietly, so does your stress. Then one day you get an email from your landlord, rent renewal notice. The increase is bigger this time. You stare at the number, you open a calculator, you do the math. It's uncomfortable, but still possible. You sign the renewal because moving is exhausting, and this is familiar. Or familiarity compounds too. One night you're lying in bed, scrolling through houses online. You screenshot a beautiful home. You imagine the kitchen, the backyard, the quiet. Yeah, then you check the price. You calculate the down payment, you estimate the mortgage, your stomach tightens, you close the app, you tell yourself, maybe someday. Somewhere else, that other person, the one making tiny different choices, is also lying in bed. They're also tired. They're also scrolling. But their screenshot looks different. Their calculator results look different. Not because they were perfect, not because they never bought coffee or pizza or subscriptions, but because they're tiny, boring decisions compounded in silence. Back to you. Tax season arrives. You open your payslip. You see deductions you barely understand. You feel a strange frustration. You worked all year and the numbers feel confusing and distant. You promise yourself you'll understand money someday. Someday feels far away. Another day, your car needs repairs. The mechanic calls with the estimate. It's more than you expected. You put it on a card. It feels temporary. It's not. Interest starts compounding again. Quietly, patiently. You don't feel like you're failing. You feel like you're surviving. And survival mode has a way of narrowing your vision to today and only today. That's how compounding hides. It lives in the space between today and someday. You start noticing friends talking about retirement. Some seem relaxed, some seem nervous. You check your retirement account again. It's bigger than before, but still small compared to the numbers you see online. You wonder where time went. You feel a soft regret, not sharp enough to change anything, but heavy enough to linger. Compounding doesn't create regret overnight. It layers it slowly. One morning you get a notification. Your savings account earned interest. It's a tiny amount. You almost laugh. It barely buys coffee, but it's proof that money can grow instead of shrink. You stare at it longer than you expected. You start to realize that your life is not made of dramatic financial disasters or dramatic financial wins. It's made of tiny, quiet decisions that stacked on top of each other for decades. And somewhere deep inside, you realize something uncomfortable and powerful at the same time. Destiny wasn't built by one big choice. It was built by thousands of tiny ones you barely noticed. That realization doesn't feel loud. It feels quiet, like a thought you sit with for a long time, staring at your ceiling, listening to the hum of your refrigerator in the dark. And you understand, maybe for the first time, that compounding isn't just about money. It's about the way small moments quietly turn into a lifetime.